Hey, it's Eli K. Atlas. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on back muscles. The first thing we need to know about back muscles is that they're extremely easy to draw. In fact, they might very well be the easiest muscle group to draw since, if you follow my method, each muscle is basically the same shape. All the muscles of the back work to support the spine, which in turn supports just about everything. These muscles create mobility in the neck and shoulders. The trapezius muscle, right around here, the teres major and minor, which are the two shoulders, right here, and the latissimus dorsi. Make a triangle from the shoulder to the hip, right around here. Now, of course, the back side of the arm has its own muscles. I'll just run over these quickly since I'm doing it. Got the tricep, which makes kind of a horseshoe shape on the back of the arm. The elbows. And then the forearms. Now, if you watch my video on drawing the torso, which I may make before or after I film this one, you will understand the reason for laying down the initial shape of the body this way. But I'll gloss over it quickly. I'm going to start by drawing one of these guys from scratch. The exact same thing. Right here. This is an element of figure drawing that I incorporate into the base of every human figure. It saves me a lot of time because I can just fit the muscles on top of this shape, which I can pose in any way I want because I know which muscles go where since I've been doing it so long. That's why it's always important to know your anatomy. And the reason this looks the way it does is because of the light source. The light is going to be hitting the figure from the top down, although we'll be experimenting with some different light sources as we progress through this lesson. Secondary muscles are out of the way. Now I can focus on the back itself. Shrink this guy's head a bit. So to start drawing the muscles of the back, we are going to start with very basic shapes. Once you've set up your base figure, we'll go from the top down. Attaching the neck to the head, we're going to run a line straight down the middle of the back, and this will help us with the symmetry. And we're going to add the trapezius muscles, which are triangle shapes. Each one does stop at the shoulder, where the shoulder begins, and then tapers into the spine line that we made right in the middle. After that, around the middle line of the shoulder, or you can even put it at the bottom, we're going to have two almost like diamond shapes, but I still feel like they're triangular. We're going to have these poke out, and these are going to be the shoulder blades, the teres major and the teres minor. After that, we're going to have the trap muscles come in where the torso tapers in right above the obliques, which is the muscle right beneath it. The latissimus dorsi, the lats, are coming out also in a triangular sort of shape, and these leave two triangles on the opposing sides of it. And from there, since the light is coming from the top down on this guy, we'd more or less shade it the same way, but we'll do it even more intense this time. And this works for skinny bodies as well as more muscular bodies. You don't have to beef the guy's shoulders up and everything like this. I'm even using angular lines for some of the muscles, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing. You always want to keep your lines as smooth, as streamlined, and as circular as possible, since there aren't too many angles in real life on the human body. But for illustration purposes, taking a few liberties this time. Light source is coming from overhead. And remember, the shoulder blade is kind of separated into two parts here. You could draw an additional line slanting diagonally on both of these shoulder blades if you want, to indicate the teres major and the teres minor. Usually one line is good enough for me though, most cases. A very dramatic light on top of this particular character, as opposed to the first guy, where it was more for display purposes. This one's going to be a little more like you would actually see it rendered in a book, for example. Really going to go in with the shadows, but still keep the essential lines of the back in place. And here we have some basic back muscles. Some muscles for the head as well. Now we're going to draw another example from scratch, and this time he's going to be from the side, and we're going to do a little perspective without getting into too much of the anatomy of that, or I have to include, as I will save that for another video. But this guy's going to be a little bit of perspective. We're going to toss in some backlighting. We're going to see how that turns out. Just following the same rules we applied to the first and second backs. Use very simple shapes, mostly triangles and triangular shapes, and create some back muscles from that. Now, if you've seen the back, human back from the side, and you can do this simply by looking in the mirror, maybe shirtless without your own shirt, and you can see from the side how the top portion of the back pokes out a lot more than the lower section of the back, where your back tapers into the buttocks and the pelvis and the hip area. Above that, right around the chest area, is where the back is at its fullest. So this guy's gonna have his arm coming up a bit. We're going to draw something next to him right here, so I don't actually want to draw in the hand, but I will draw in the muscles so you can see how the anatomy all ties in together. Again, I'll do a tutorial on drawing the arm muscles sometime in the future. I'm sure a lot of people will have questions about that. So right now we're going to put in the tricep, which comes in right under the neck. The shoulder blades, teres major, teres minor. Lats come right under the arm from the tricep down because of the perspective. And then the obliques from the side. His rib cage is right around the middle of the lat muscle where that hooks around. If you could see through him, his chest would be right here. And now the light source is behind the guy. So all the light, all the shadows on the body have to be affected by that now as well. So backlighting. What I mean by that is every shape is in 3D. I'll do a tutorial on lighting as well sometime in the future. I have a lot to do now, and because every shape has 3 dimensions and not just 2, that means it has a top, a bottom, a front, and a back. So in the case of these muscles, the light is just going to illuminate against the figure itself, and you'll see what I mean as this begins to take shape. This spine right here, heavy shadow right under the lats right here. Put a little shading into the obliques right here. Basically the inside of him is going to be in shadow because the light is hitting from the back and from the side. You can see all these different muscles being hit by the shadows. His bicep and tricep from the side also being affected by the light source. And now for the arm in perspective. And that's basically it. I'd probably make the light source a little more precise if he was wearing clothes or something like that, so you could really get a feel, because the environment definitely affects the lighting as well. But that's basically what you can take away from it if you wanted to illustrate and illuminate your muscles in this way. And now, of course, what many of you checked in for, we'll go over a female figure. This will be more from a 3/4 or an 1/8 type of view, a bit like this one. The muscles of the female body are, of course, the same. However, it's the size that you have to change of the muscles. Unless you were drawing She-Hulk, you want to make your female figure much more sleek, much more streamlined, so less rendering is required. For her, I think I will keep the lighting a little more simple like the very first figure we got, simply so you guys can see what's up.